Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Family by Design. Here, Liz and I are going to talk about do opposites attract? So it's a question, and this is pretty much an opinion episode, but we're going to give our opinion about this and share some things I think that'll really help you. So enjoy as you listen. Okay, the question, and this is the title of this conversation, this topic, is do opposites attract?
That's a really good question.
It's something people say.
Yeah.
Is it really true? Do opposites really attract? So give me your opinion about this. This is an opinion. This is an opinion podcast. Opinion episode.
Yes, completely opinion. So I would have to say yes and no. And so why I would say that is because I do think that when we have like a weakness maybe that we see in ourselves, then we're going to want to strengthen that by finding somebody who has that
might kind of fill that, yeah.
Right, to
balance.
It's
a subconscious thing.
Yeah, to balance us out. But then I think about if you're completely opposite, like in your likes and the things that you're pursuing and whatnot, like you don't want to be completely opposite because then you would never do things that you like doing together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that would be a reason why you don't like to have, or you wouldn't want to be attracted to somebody who's completely opposite of you.
Yeah.
And then I think, we've talked a lot about like the justice and mercy in people. And that seems like when we've done like our own unofficial surveying,
right,
that usually a justice person and a mercy person marry each other.
95% of the time. Yeah.
So you have a balance there. So yes and no. What are your thoughts?
I tend to think that they do in that sense. I mean, I agree with that. I think that there's and again, it's subconscious. Like I don't think people oftentimes, especially when you're younger, you don't think, okay, well, I'm really wired this way. I'm really not good at cleaning the house, but I'm good at keeping a checkbook. I need to find someone who's not good at keeping a checkbook, but good at cleaning the house. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't go about it that way, but I think subconsciously, and a lot of those things we just develop and we work together and we fill voids as we grow together. But there is, when it comes to the justice and mercy thing,
mm-hmm.
and we can't even give you a Bible verse for this, but we have observed this a lot. It talks about in the book of Micah, it says, seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. And we've just found that some people lean towards the justice, like we got to make this right. That was wrong. Got to right the wrongs, right? And then you have mercy people that are like, oh my gosh, let's make sure everybody feels okay while it's happening.
Right.
And we find that a lot of people, they end up marrying each other. And justice and mercy people end up getting married. So in that sense, you'll see that the opposites attract. But here's what is important to know. First of all, basically almost unintentionally, the level of health that people are at, they basically always marry within a margin of error. They basically always marry people that are at the same level of health as they are.
Yeah, so
whether they're really unhealthy or super healthy, that's what usually happens.
That's very interesting to even maybe unpackage that or talk about that, is that like, where are you at in your level of like health? And we're not like talking physical health, but we're talking
even that too. I mean, you're not going to find some big slob that's going to marry a health nut. Like they're not going to. That health nut's not going to go for that. I'm sure the slob would be fine with it, but.
Right? Because they're not running in the same circles,
right?
And that's usually what happens. Is like who are you spending time with? What people are you hanging around? That's usually how you're gonna meet somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But like, where are you at in your health emotionally?
Yeah.
In your mind.
Spiritually.
Yeah. And those places, that's where you're kind of gonna gauge at meeting. And we encourage and talk about like don't be a whole person when you get married. Like, no, I said that wrong.
You said don't be a whole
I know.
person.
Don't do that. Be a whole person
Right.
when you're going into. You don't want to be somebody who isn't healthy emotionally, spiritually, and then thinking that you need somebody else to fix you or help you or to adjust you or to make you whole.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens, is like we don't feel whole ourselves. So subconsciously we'll go find people to fill in those holes that we have, so that and then we end up building codependency.
Yeah.
And this can work both ways, like where you're over in one way, you're filling the holes for other people, and some people like that. And then where you're not whole and you're needing those holes filled, other people like that too. So like together they're filling gaps in people. So you have to be careful. Like it's also good, like be mindful of your gaps. Like where do you feel insufficient? Where do you feel like you're lacking in an area that you really need the sufficiency of the Lord, and you're trying to lean on somebody else to get that?
Yeah, and you know that this is a really good thought here, that the miracle of marriage is not that it's not that he takes two halves to make a whole. He takes two and makes one.
It's good.
Yeah, and it's not that the individuals lose their individual identity. That's not it. But it's the fact that you take two and they become one. I think a lot of people, like, they don't really think through it, but I think people think like, oh, like we'll hear these things like, you know, like you complete me, and you know, it's like, actually no, you're supposed to be complete and whole without the other person.
Right.
So when you come into the marriage, you're coming in as a whole person, and they're coming in as a whole person, and then God brings those two and makes one. That's where health really comes in. And so, but I think when it comes down to this thing of like what people are attracted to, I do think that there's, so to me, like, so I'm a pretty strong person, have a strong personality. I'm kind of
No.
justice driven. And I can say this, that in general, I'm not talking about looks at all, but in general, women who are really strong or whatever, they're unattractive to me. Not that I'm looking or anything, but I'm just saying they actually they repel me a little bit, or I don't really like that at all. Whereas I've been around other men that are a little bit, you know, they're more mercy driven, and they relate better to a little bit of a stronger woman. You know, not that she has to lead in an unhealthy way or anything like that, but I'm just saying like those personality types. And so, you know, for me, I think it would only work for me to be with somebody like you. Now, you might get along better with someone that was more like you. I don't know. So we've had to work through some things, and 95% of our problems have been me. And that's the truth. That really is the truth.
I can't let you take 95% of the credit.
You can give me 80%.
I think
safely.
80, yeah.
Safely 80%. And most of it's not been because like I'm some mean tyrant. It's because I've got this really raw emotion in me that's God breathed, but I've had to, it's been a lifelong journey of learning how to hone it. And I've had to apologize a lot in my life. Like probably every other day, I feel like I apologize for something. I'm like, am I ever going to grow up and grow past this? You know, I don't know. But anyway, so like, I think opposites attract, but I think it's probably in that respect. But it's also realizing that the flip side to this whole thing of like, oh, opposites attract is people typically marry people on the same level of health. But even with that, sometimes people will marry people that they're on the same level of health, but they're not equally yoked. Because you could have an unbeliever who's not healthy, which if they're an unbeliever, they're not healthy. I could tell you that. But maybe they're because eternally they're not in a good place. But you know, they might be at a certain level of health in their just in their life, like in their mental health.
Right.
And when we say that health marries health, or unhealth marries unhealth, that's what we're talking about. Your ability, your capacity in life to handle things, to handle finances, to talk to people, those things typically
Right.
match up, you know. So, but sometimes people will match up that way, but then their belief system is really not in the same place at all.
Right.
And so they end up marrying somebody that they're not yoked up to. Now, we don't want to get into it in this episode because we're going to have a whole other episode. We're going to talk about building a value system and what it looks like to have a similar value system. But the basis of that value system is that you have to be equally yoked up. Mm-hmm. So this whole question of like, do opposites attract? I actually think, we titled it that way because it is a question that people ask, and we just kind of wanted to speak into it. But it's actually less relevant than understanding, are you equally yoked?
Yeah.
Because if you're not equally yoked up, and then you can also have, so you could have an unbeliever and a believer not yoked up correctly. Mm-hmm. And the picture of that is like two oxen that are pulling, and if one is lagging behind, they're actually going to hurt the oxen that's moving forward. And so that's what it means to be like unequally yoked. The Apostle Paul wrote that instruction to the Corinthian church, and he said, don't become unequally yoked with an unbeliever. And so there is that level of being unyoked, but then you also have people like, you'll have two Christians that they might be physically attracted to each other. They might have some of like there might be things that just, it seems like it's right, but you have one of them that's on fire for Jesus and one of them that's not on fire for Jesus. And they get married, and it's a real struggle because one of them really claims to be a believer but doesn't act like it. And this happens with younger people a lot because younger people come together mostly off of attraction, whereas older people come together mostly off of like, this will be good for both of us.
Right.
It looks different the older you get.
Right.
When you're young, sex is the most important thing, seemingly. When you're older, it's like that's not important in a marriage, but it's like, are we going to get along here?
Right.
Are we going to be mutually beneficial to each other?
You think about that. The older you get, like we want to be good together.
Yeah.
Not just on fire for one another.
Yes, but as you get older, you want to be good for each other and on fire. You
Yes.
want both of that to happen.
But you're not thinking about that. Like when you're younger, I think sometimes you don't have the capacity or you don't even know the skill to ask those questions. Like you don't even know those are questions that you should ask. Like I had zero idea about any of this when we got married.
Oh, me too. Same for me. Yeah.
I just knew I liked you a lot. No,
I just knew I was on fire.
Right. No, I knew that God said for us to get married. How I went about it was wrong, but I wouldn't say that for us, like when I did see that you had like some certain strengths in you that I lacked. And I knew that they would be good for me.
And I saw that you had certain qualities to you that I did desire. I didn't just desire you sexually, but
really,
I know it probably didn't feel that way to you, but I knew you were kind, you were good to people. I could see because of the house you grew up in, you took care of your younger brother and sister like a lot. I could see that you were going to be a good mother, and I also could see that you were very good to me, and I could see that you were going to be a good wife. So there were qualities that were there that were very endearing to me. And but I don't even think I really recognized those things until we got married, and
after you stopped burning so bad,
I settled down a little bit, and, But I did. I mean, but I was attracted to those things,
Right. And then in that instance, sometimes then the opposites can become hindrances or the things that frustrate us if we're not careful, because like, oh, what was once seemed like attractive when we didn't have to live together and unite as one, become frustrating because you like everything when it comes, like you like dark and cool and I like bright and warm.
Right.
And so you're coming in and you're shutting the shades, and I'm coming in and I'm opening the shades. We're completely opposite here. And this isn't like
But I just built you a house with
lots
too
of
many
windows. And now
Too many.
you're like, how do we cover up
now we're like,
these
now we got to cover
windows?
these up so that when we want to, we can. When
So
I'm
that
gone
you
during the
can
day and you're
have
at home, you can open them
dark.
all up and have all the light in.
It's going to be fabulous. I'm
Yeah.
very excited
So-
about this. But what I'm saying is that, like, even thinking this through, like, what once was attractive to you or drew you together can become annoying and frustrating if you, like,
Do you have a deeper example than sun or no sun coming in?
I'm sure.
Because I think most people could work past that one.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you know what, I can't think of anything at this particular moment, but yeah, it could, and you know, it could be again, like on the mercy justice side, like
This is to me the prime example.
right. Like you have like this righteous anger that wells up in you that causes movement to come. And it is good when it's tempered right.
Right.
But if it isn't tempered right, it can come out like an anger.
Unsanctified.
And then, you know, for the mercy people, like, we don't know what to do with that. That feels unsafe and insecure and all these things whenever we're seeing somebody who is so driven by justice that we can't, like, understand exactly where they're coming from. And we're like,
but yet there was a part of you that was attracted to that in me.
right.
Because it's strong. It's a strength.
strong. It is a
Right.
strength.
Right.
But if it's unsanctified, then it can be scary.
So then the other way is also true. So like that, the mercy in you, like very, like in your compassion, is all that was very attractive, but it still is, but it's become in the last several years, a point of contention at times because
Right.
you have had unsanctified mercy. And like, you'll want to defend people. And I'm like, you don't need to defend them. I'm not coming against them. I'm just saying they're wrong. And we're not going to go down this road anymore. Yeah, but they didn't mean to do that. I'm like, I don't care what they meant to do. They're being a turd to somebody
But
else.
we
have to deal with it.
Came
you know?
to this reality or this conclusion that actually had some deeper roots tied to it. Wasn't just that it was like unsanctified mercy. It was
right.
I wanted people to feel safe.
To your point, we have things that actually attracted us to each other, but then we've had to learn how to walk through those things,
Right.
Because they've been a point of contention,
right?
Yeah.
Because when you're putting two people together to become one, you're not putting, like you said, I think that this is so vital and a very great point, and something that we have missed is that we're not taking two halves and making something whole.
right?
Because if that were true, it would be easy in marriage.
Yeah.
But
you're taking two whole people.
you're taking two completely whole individuals. Maybe they have some holes in them.
Sure.
And you're merging them to become one, which means that there's a lot of like give and take.
Yeah.
There's a lot of humility and laying down self in those places.
Yeah. So the best thing, or the next thing that we can do, is learn to build a value system. So in our next episode, we're going to talk about building a value system. Thanks for tuning in to Family by Design. We're so thankful you took this time to listen and participate with Liz and I as we discuss these very important things concerning marriage and family. If you're blessed by this ministry, in particular this podcast, we'd love it if you would leave a review. It'll absolutely help boost our ratings and help other people to be able to find this podcast to bless them as well. We want to give a special thanks to our partners. Those of you that partner with Ward Ministries, you make this possible. If you'd like more information about partnership, you'd like to become a partner with us, you can go to wardmen.org and find all the information there, as well as other resources. So we bless you in the name of the Lord. Thanks for tuning in.